Well, ahoy there, mateys. We're going to move on to 9.2 in Chapter 9, which is all about mean. Mean? That doesn't sound nice at all. What is mean? Well, I'll explain. Mean's not so bad in math. So, mean has to do with average. So, what comes to mind when you think of the word average? And how does the word average relate to math? Well, in regular talk, average is kind of typical. So what's the average amount of rain that you get around here? On average, how much did you run yesterday? So in math, it's the same. So we use the word average, it's the same. It's a way to describe something that's typical. But there's a mathy way of doing it, of course. And that mathy way is this. So you might want to take some notes on this one here. Mean is a type of average, and it's a way to find a typical representation of a set of numbers. The way you mathematically calculate the mean, so the mean of a data set is the sum of the data divided by the number of data values. Now, that's a very complicated way to basically say, add up all the numbers and then divide by how many numbers there are. So, for example, here, if our data set is 8, 5, 6, and 9, so maybe that's the number of times that you hit the snooze button every morning on your alarm for the last 4 days. And you want to find, on average, how many times you hit the snooze. You would add 8 plus 5 plus 6 plus 9. That is a total of 28. You would divide by 4, because that's how many numbers are in your data set. And it tells you that on average, you hit the snooze button 7 times. So that is how you find the mean. Okay, so now we're going to practice that. So TV shows watched each day this week. 2 shows, followed by 2 shows again the second day. 3 shows the third day. 4 shows the fourth day. 1 show, then 0 shows, no TV that day. And then 2 shows on the final day. So find the mean average for the amount of shows. Okay, this was the first one you did. Let's see how you did on this. You add them all up, 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 1 plus 0 plus 2. That gives you a total of 14. You divide by 7 because there are 7 numbers here. So you count the 0 as a number, even though it didn't really add to your total, and you get an average of 2 shows every day. All right, so here are the points scored by each starter on a basketball team. There were 5 starters, and they scored 22, 18, 15, 6, and 4. What was the average scored by each starter? Okay, so you add them up, 22 plus 18 plus 15 plus 6 plus 4, and then divide by 5, because there are 5 numbers here. And that gives you 13 was the average each starter scored. Okay, in my opinion, if you have a different teacher and you're watching this video, you need to ask your teacher if it's okay to use your calculator on these problems. For me, it's okay to use your calculator if you're going to be adding, especially if they're complicated numbers, and then to divide at the end. I do not want you to use an online calculator where you type in the numbers and it gives you the average, okay? And I don't want you to use a complicated graphing calculator that you can type in the numbers and it'll just give you the average, okay? So I want you to actually do the addition and then do the division so that you know how to do the mean. And these two, I think, might be fractions or decimals. We'll find out. So for number 3, new messages in your inbox, you had 2 and then 5 and then 7 and then 2 and then 3 and then 2. What was the mean average of new messages in your inbox? Okay, when you add up these 6 numbers, you get 14, 16, 19, 21. You divide by 6, and 21 divided by 6 gives you 3.5. So 3.5 was the average. And for this one, number 4, minutes spent getting ready for school. Over the 5 days, you spent 45, 53, 65, 37, and 29 minutes getting ready for school. What was the average? Okay, you add up those 5 numbers and then divide by 5, and you get 45.8 was the mean for minutes getting ready for school. Okay, now sometimes you will have a number, never mind. Yeah, I'm gonna skip this example. I'm gonna jump right to outliers. Sometimes you'll have a number in your data set that doesn't fit all the other numbers, and that's called an outlier. So that number is either going to be way too small or it's going to be way too big. And looking at this set of numbers, it might be they all kind of look about the same, okay? So you might look at this and be like, oh, they're all about the same height Shetland ponies, no problem. But there is an outlier. See if you can identify it. All right, it is 28. It's hard to see on this, so it might help to make a dot plot. So if you plot these 10 numbers on a dot plot, the outlier is really clear. It's the one that's standing out from all the other ones. Okay. So find the mean with the outlier. So including this tiny little Shetland pony that's only 28 inches, you're going to add up all the pony heights and divide by 10 ponies to get the average. Okay, so when you add up all 10 numbers, it's 379 divided by the 10 ponies that you have here, and it's 37.9 inches per pony. Okay, now find the mean without the outlier. So you're going to take the tiny little pony and not count that one. You're only going to count the other 9. So what is the mean of only the other 9 ponies, not this tiny little one? Okay, when you add those up, you get 351. This time you divide by 9 because you are not counting all 10 ponies anymore, and you end up with 39. So by keeping in the tiny pony, it throws off your data by over an inch, actually. Okay, so 39 is a better representation of the height of these ponies. So usually you want to leave the outliers out when you have them because then it throws off your average. Okay. Sometimes outliers can be really small, sometimes they can be really big, and sometimes you won't have any outliers. Sometimes all the data will just kind of fit. Okay, so the last 2 questions I have for you is to figure out what are the outliers here. So here we have the weights of dogs in a kennel. These are the pounds. Here's the list. Can you identify the outlier? All right, and then here we have prices for flights from Miami, Florida to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Here's the list of those prices. Can you identify an outlier? All right, so for the weight of dogs in the kennel, hopefully you said 8 because that's way smaller than the rest of them. And for the flights, hopefully you said 900 because that's way bigger than the rest of them. So this tiny dog weight will make your average smaller if you include it. And this super high price will make the average look bigger than it actually is. Okay, now that covers mean and it covers outliers. And now your job is to practice this on 9.2 Big Ideas. Email or come see me during on-demand time if you have any questions, or stop by, get some help from Mrs. Rude in the ASC, or use your friend Google, see if you can look some of these things up. And that's all we got. So good luck on 9.2, and I will see you during our next live session. All right. Arr!